Welcome to Spectrum News at 4, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Let's take a look at the top stories. U.S. set to deport 79 Nigerians on criminal list. Senate confirms Oyewole as Supreme Court Justice. In other stories, France raids ex-officers, summons Musk for questioning. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more after this time out. Good afternoon, and we appreciate you for joining us on the news at this hour. We begin the news at 4 from the national scene, where the United States Department of Homeland Security has said it will deport no fewer than 79 convicted Nigerians listed on its worst of the worst criminal list. Findings on the DHS website reveal that the 79 Nigerians were convicted of offenses bordering on fraud, drug peddling, assault, manslaughter, and robbery, among others. An accompanying note showed that the convicts were arrested as part of the United States crackdown on criminal immigrants. The list showed that the convicted Nigerians include Boluwaji Akingusoye, Ejike Asegbunam, Emmanuel Meyegun Adeola, Bamidele Bolatiwa, Ifeanyi Nwazomudo, Aderemi Akefe, Solomon Wilfred, Chibundu Anuebunwa, Joshua Ine, Usman Momo, Oluwole Odunowo, Bolarinwa Salau, and Oriyomi Aloba. Others are Oludayo Adeogbo, Olani Akintuyi, Talatu Dada, Olatunde Oladini, Jelili Kudus, Abayomi Daramola, Toluwani Adegbakin, Olamide Jolayemi, Isaiah Okere, Benji Macaulay, and Joseph Ogbara. Away from that, the Federal Account Allocation Committee, FAAC, has shed a total of 1.969 trillion naira among the federal government, state, and local government councils from Federation revenue that accrued in December 2025. This was disclosed in a communique issued by FAAC at the end of its monthly meeting yesterday. According to the communique, the total distributable revenue comprised 1.084 trillion naira in statutory revenue, 846.51 billion naira from value-added tax VAT, and 38.11 billion naira from the electronic money transfer levy EMTL. FAAC noted that a total gross revenue of 2.585 trillion naira was available in December 2025. From the amount, 104.69 billion naira was deducted as cost of collection, while 511.58 billion naira was set aside for transfers, refunds, and savings. The communique further stated that gross statutory revenue for December 2025 stood at 1.63 trillion naira, representing a decline of 105.21 billion naira compared to the 1.74 trillion naira recorded in November 2025. From the red chambers, the Senate has confirmed Justice Joseph Oyewole as a justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The confirmation today was a sequel to the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters by the chairman of the committee, Senator Adeniyi Adebonimire, APC, Ondo Central. Recall that President Bola Tinubu had last week, Tuesday, written the Senate seeking for the confirmation of Justice Oyewole as Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has filed a counter-affidavit before the Supreme Court of Nigeria in opposition to an appeal instituted by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, arising from proceedings at the Court of Appeal. Court documents in Abuja indicate that the counter-affidavit was deposed to by a senior legislative aide to Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan and filed in response to Senator Akpabio's motion on notice dated January 21, 2026. The respondents are urging the Apex Court to dismiss the application in its entirety, arguing that it discloses no prima facie good cause and constitutes an abusive court process. According to the counter-affidavit, the Court of Appeal had already concluded hearing in the substantive appeal on November 28, 2025 and reserved the matter for judgment. Elsewhere, Justice Emmanuel Sibilim of the National Industrial Court Abuja has restrained the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, Trade Union Congress, TUC, and 3 others from embarking on any form of industrial action or protest in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. Justice Sibilim issued the order following an ex parte application filed by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and the FCT administration against the labor unions and their leaders dated February 2. After hearing the claimants, Justice Sibilim granted an interim order restraining the first 2/5 respondents and their agents or previous from embarking on any strike pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. The court also directed the 5th to 9th defendants, who are security agencies, to ensure law and order is maintained in the FCT. Meanwhile, the court has adjourned the matter until February 10 for the hearing of the motion on notice. In education, the National Examinations Council (NECO) has released the results of the 2025 Senior School Certificate Examination SSCE External, with 68,166 out of 96,979 scoring 5 credits, including English language and mathematics, representing 71.63% of the total scores. Releasing the results at the Council's headquarters in Minna, the Registrar and Chief Executive Officer, Professor Ibrahim Wushishi, said the results is coming 52 days after the conduct of the exams across the country held from Wednesday 26 November to Saturday 13 December 2025. He explained that a total of 96,979 candidates registered for the external exams, out of which 95,160 actually wrote, with 50,785 male, representing 53.36% of candidates, and 44,375 representing 44.63% of females. On security matters, the Nigerian Army has rolled out a comprehensive intelligence-driven strategy to tackle terrorism, banditry, cybercrime, and other asymmetric threats, pledging to protect lives, property, and national infrastructure. In a statement today, signed by Acting Director of Army Public Relations, Colonel Apollonia Anele, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Widi Shuaibu, said the evolving security landscape requires a dynamic, technology-enabled and multi-domain approach. The statement covered his lecture at the National Defense College NDC Course 34, titled Combating Asymmetric Threats to National Security in Nigeria, the Nigerian Army in Perspective. Lieutenant General Shuaibu said the nature of conflict has shifted from traditional state wars to complex intrastate crises dominated by non-state actors. We move now to Africa, where Mozambique is grappling with its worst flooding in decades, just months after recovering from a devastating drought. Nearly 700,000 people have been reportedly affected, with over 100,000 forced into temporary shelters as homes, farmland and roads were submerged. The United Nations have warned that severe overcrowding is creating dangerous conditions, particularly for women, girls, the elderly and those with disabilities. The UN agency stressed that the risks are far from over, saying that with continued rainfall forecast, more displacement is expected and urgent international support is critical. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme says it is scaling up to reach 450,000 people with life-saving food and nutrition assistance, but urgently needs $32 million to do so. On the foreign scene, Bill and Hillary Clinton will testify in a U.S. House investigation surrounding deceased sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein affair continues to cast a long shadow over Washington, entangling some of the most prominent names in U.S. politics and highlighting the sharp partisan battles that have shaped the scandal. A court, meanwhile, is due to hear a request on Wednesday to block access to investigative files linked to Epstein after victims said their names had not been redacted. Recall that the Justice Department released last week what it said would be the final batch of pages, photos and videos from the Epstein files, adding fuel to a political drama that has put pressure on President Donald Trump. Still on the foreign scene, France summoned billionaire Elon Musk to a voluntary interview as cybercrime authorities today searched the French offices of his social media network X. The operation, which involves EU police agency Europol, is part of an investigation opened in January 2025 into whether X's algorithm was used to interfere in French politics. Recall that Paris cybercrime prosecutors called for the police probe in July 2025 to investigate suspected crimes including manipulating and extracting data from automated systems as part of a criminal gang after receiving 2 complaints in January 2025. Still to come in the news. FIFA President Infantino defends giving peace prize to Trump. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more when we return from this short break. You are welcome back, and thank you so much for sticking with us. Now let's conclude on the rest of our news stories. On our business news, the federal government has moved to end the practice of carrying electricity subsidy cost alone, announcing a framework that will spread the burden across federal, state, and local government from 2026. The Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation, Tanimu Yakubu, disclosed this in Abuja during a training and sensitization workshop for ministries, departments, and agencies on the 2026 post-budget preparation process using the Government Integrated Financial Management Information System Budget Preparation Subsystem. Yakubu said President Bola Tinubu had directed that electricity subsidy costs be made explicit, tracked, and fairly shared across tiers of government, warning that the current approach creates hidden liabilities and recurring crises in the power market. He added that from 2026, the federal government would no longer treat electricity subsidies as an open-ended obligation borne solely by the center, especially where policy decisions and political benefits are shared. Still in business, the Nigerian currency, Naira, has showed resilience in the final week of January 2026, gaining versus cardiovascular conditions and other environment-related diseases linked to greenhouse gas emissions across Nigeria. The Minister of Environment, Balarabe Lawal, issued the warning in Abuja during a stakeholders' engagement on the national emergency response to environment-related diseases arising from greenhouse gas emissions. Lawal, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mahmoud Kambari, said evidence from environmental surveillance, health statistics, and peer assessment shows a troubling rise in diseases associated with greenhouse gas emissions. According to him, respiratory illnesses, cardiovascular conditions, and other environmentally related diseases are increasing at an alarming rate. We move now to sports, where FIFA chief Gianni Infantino defended his controversial decision to award a peace prize to United States President Donald Trump as he dismissed calls for a World Cup boycott. Infantino was widely criticized for giving Trump the honor on behalf of his governing body at the 2026 World Cup draw in Washington, D.C. in December. The move drew further scrutiny after U.S. forces seized Venezuelan President Miguel Maduro, while Trump caused more controversy with his desire to acquire Greenland for national security reasons. However, Infantino insisted Trump was deserving of FIFA's inaugural Peace Prize. Infantino rejected suggestions there might be a boycott of this year's World Cup to be held in the United States, Canada, and Mexico from June 11 to July 19 due to policies adopted at home and abroad by the Trump administration. Still talking sports, Australia fast bowler Josh Hazlewood is unlikely to be involved in the first half of the T20 World Cup as he continues his recovery from injury. The 35-year-old has not played since mid-November, missing the start of the Ashes against England with a hamstring strain and then suffering an Achilles injury during his rehabilitation that meant he played no part in the series. Recall that head coach Andrew McDonald had said that Hazlewood was on track to be fit for the start of the tournament. However, teammate Pat Cummins, who was ruled out of the T20 World Cup with a back injury last week, does not expect Hazelwood to feature until midway through the tournament. Australia's first match is against Ireland on 11 February with the Super 8 scheduled to begin on February 21. We move now to entertainment. Nigerian Grammy-nominated singer David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, has spoken about how he felt after losing at the Grammy Awards. In a post shared on his Instagram page, the artist admitted that the loss affected him deeply and made him unwilling to attend the after-party. However, he revealed that his wife, Chioma, encouraged him and helped restore his confidence with reassuring words. Davido expressed appreciation for her unwavering support, describing her as his ride or die. Recall that Davido lost out to South African star Tyler in the Best African Music Performance category at the 2026 Grammy Award ceremony on Sunday. And that's all we have for you at this time. Kindly follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.